Hello there, and welcome to Holy Shiftballs. I'm Sharon, alongside my fabulous co host, Bethany. And today, our conversation is one that every single one of us can relate to:
Mhm.
loss, healing, and the question, can we actually change the way we experience both of those?
That's right, Sharon, because what if healing isn't just physical? What if it's your thoughts, your emotions, your nervous system, your energy, and your consciousness all play a big role in your experience of health?
And today, our guest has spent more than 20 years asking exactly those questions, not because she was curious, but because her life demanded the answers.
Yes, girl. After the loss of her father to cancer, Kym Coco began searching for something deeper than medicine alone could explain. That search led her into neuroscience, yoga, energy medicine, metaphysics, and incredible connection between mind, body, and spirit.
So, Bethany, today we're asking, can your energy actually change your biology? And Kym has the answers. Kym, welcome to Holy Shiftballs. Let's
Hey,
turn
girl.
some shit into a shift.
Hi, Sharon. Hi, Bethany. Thanks so much for having me today.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Well, I
Yes,
want to
thank
say a resounding yes to can our energy change our biology? Yes, 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 yes. And I can't wait to talk about all of these things and how we do that and how we get to evolve and expand and really embody the best version of ourselves through change and this physical
Yes.
experience.
you.
Oh,
Yeah,
and,
girl.
and we need some of that today, don't we, Bethany?
For sure, for sure. So, Kim, your journey didn't begin with like yoga and energy medicine. It began with loss. How did losing your father completely change the questions you started to ask about your life?
That's a really great question. It's amazing as a young teenager to start to wonder, is there more to this than the physical body? And my family was spiritual. They were fundamental Christians. And so there was this talk about a soul that
Yeah.
expanded beyond this meat suit. And yet, at the sense of loss, when someone you watch them physically decline, and it felt like the answers they had for how I could experience my father after his transition, how I could understand myself as a consciousness beyond this time and space, they didn't satisfy me. So it really set me on a quest to know, who are we really? How do we understand ourselves from that broader perspective? And how can I tap into that now, not just to be the wholeness of me, but to really interact with my dad, with my
Yeah.
lost grandparents, with the people around me, looking at them as also something bigger than just what they were experiencing. And how could that change our relationships while we were in the body?
Yeah.
Uh, well, that leads us easily to the next question, Kym. How did your relationship with your dad and your grandparents change? And can you communicate with them now? And if so, how do you achieve that? How do people communicate with those who have passed on?
I believe we very much can communicate. And I think there are a number of ways in which that can happen. But I'd like to tell you a story first, if that's okay.
Yes, oh, it's perfect.
Please.
Mhm.
So, a huge shift I had was going from this very introspective teen to really starting to fine tune my body because I looked at my father's physical decline. Well, maybe there's a recipe to start to heal and prevent such a
Mhm.
decline. So let's do fitness and how we eat and how we hydrate and how we rest, right? The really basic nuggets of how do I live my best in my body? And I think
Mhm.
that is very valuable.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that led me into the kinesiology realm to really dive into the nuances of that. And yet at the same time, I was so angry and I couldn't communicate that well. And I was anxious and I couldn't understand why. The program I was in and just the limited scientific research I think we had at the time didn't have answers. It wasn't blending well for me.
Yeah.
So I had a friend introduce me to emotional kinesiology. Well, how do
Okay.
we start to understand how the emotions impact our biology? How do our emotions play out in repeat patterns until we say, oh, well, maybe that's from childhood. Maybe that's not serving me. So that's a little bit of the backstory. So here I am with my best friend in college. We were in our master's program, and she had gotten into this work a year before me. And we're at the park. It's this beautiful sunny afternoon after class. I mean, not a cloud in the sky. It's Northern California in the valley, so it's warm. We're at this park under a beautiful willow tree, just having a coffee and a conversation, just catching up on life. And she says, "Hold on. Your dad has something he wants to say to you."
Okay.
Because in the faith I grew up in, this idea of channeling wasn't something that was very welcomed.
Right.
Scary.
Exactly.
And yet in my heart, the Kym in me was yearning to be able to communicate with my dad, to hear from him in some way. And looking up at the stars and thinking of him as an astronomer was something that was special, but it wasn't specific. And
Right.
so when she said, "Do you want to do this? Do you want to hear what he has to say?" And I'm thinking, of course, raise my hand. Yes, definitely. And she proceeded to just give me a beautiful, loving message. And that not only gave me an immense sense of peace, it also opened the door to say, okay, now, yes, the connection's made. And how can I start to nurture this new relationship? Because my dad obviously wasn't where I could see him. The patterns weren't there. And that was something I've been learning to do with Steve, my late husband, because they are here in spirit. We are frequency, this consciousness.
Yes.
And so it's just like tuning your radio dial. And how can I turn my dial so that I can hear my dad, so that I can hear Steve? And there are so many ways we can do that. But that one day in the park, sitting on a bench, having this, wow, I feel like I just was expanded in a way that literally changed my trajectory, because now it wasn't just the body. Now it just wasn't just the mind and body. It was, okay, wow, we have this ability to communicate, and I want to tap into that.
Yeah, yes. Yes. If one of our audience members today is struggling and would like to maybe get a sign, an awareness, and a connection with their crossed over loved one, what kind of guidance would you give them to be able to receive that?
I think there are a few steps that are essential to set ourselves up to hear, because if we're asking for a sign, we want to be able to hear that or see it or experience it, feel it, sense it, right? Our senses are so valuable in that process. So the first thing I'd like to say is ask for clarity. Clarity about what sign you'd like to receive, but also why you're looking for the sign in the first place. And that's going to be a very specific answer to you in a different point in time. For me, hearing my dad, it was, I wanted to know we could communicate. With Steve, I wanted to still continue this conversation, writing these books, being together. And then the clarity of the sign, well, it could be something meaningful in the relationship. It could be just a knowing. It could be a way that, like with Steve, there was a bald eagle that sat in the tree outside of our house for 4 hours the day before he transitioned. So now I often see bald eagles. It's a cue. So that leads me to my second, which is awareness. This is understanding yourself, what emotional spectrum you're on. Because I think when we're in that good feeling space, when we're open to receive, that comes with a level of self-understanding. And that takes practice. It's paying attention to how we feel. What thoughts are we thinking throughout the day? What's going on in our environment? How are we responding to those cues? And sometimes journaling about that. And I think also being open to the magic that's happening, the new in the experience, because many times if we're asking for a sign, it's something new, it's novel. And that helps our brain perk up and pay attention.
Oh, that's a great point. I never thought about that, about the sign being new and novel. People come to you to be able to handle stress, to be able to deal with the stress in their lives and be calm and effectively process and handle daily life. How did you, being the teacher, being the master, how did you navigate life when you became a student and had to put that into practice in your own life?
I think we all have this opportunity to be teachers and students. it's like this infinity symbol that goes back and forth because we're constantly growing and changing. So just when you think you have a handle on something, then a nuance comes up and you get to learn that skill in a new way, or the new concept in a different subject of your life, for example. And so I think we can fall into this trap that once you're the teacher, you're always the teacher. And that's definitely a false sense of security, I think. And
A
it
little
can also make
unrealistic.
it, yeah. And it can also be like a really hard hit to the ego when you're back in the student experience. So if you can think of it like we take one foot forward, one foot forward at a time as we walk, it's like the same thing. So as you're teaching, you're also learning, teaching and experiencing and learning, and let that continually evolve. So saying that, I think it's not always easy. I think saying, oh yeah, we can have a beginner's mind. Oh, we can go back to the beginning. It's not always easy. It can be humbling. It can be scary. It can be frustrating. I mean, I'm a golfer and I have to go back to the range and practice fundamentals. And if you talk to any professional athlete or anyone that's a masterful musician or anyone that has a level of mastery in anything, the fundamentals are so important. So I notice when I find myself back in the student experience, returning to the fundamentals of tuning in, meditating, taking things off my plate so I have space to hear and space to take care of myself helps. And then also asking for guidance, whether that's from non-physical or someone in physical who can be there to support me on the path. Those are great ways to say, okay, I'm going to show up as the student because there's a willingness. You could fight it. I think you can fight it. I recommend leaning into it a little bit more, though, to make it easier.
Yes. Kym, okay, so I've got a great question. We hear all the time, you got to raise your frequency, you got to raise your vibration. What does that mean to you, and how does somebody raise their vibration?
I like to think of it as like good vibes. That's a good vibe, bad vibe. That's a pretty easy analogy when people look around, right? If you find somebody who's angry or upset, it's kind of like they're icky. It's like, ooh, I don't know if I want to get close to you. And you look at children, babies, they're very responsive to this. They don't want to go up to somebody when they can sense that's not a match, or it's not safe, or it doesn't feel secure.
Kids and dogs.
Yes.
Yes.
And we have that. We haven't lost it. I think we can ignore it or dial that volume down so we can make ourselves get through a situation. But if we honor the fact that we tend to lean into the positive emotions, I think raising our frequency is saying, I have the capacity to recognize the spectrum. I can have agency to change from, we're not always going to be in the good vibe space. That's not possible as humans. I'd like to think it is,
No.
Doesn't happen. So how can we say, okay, well, I recognize I'm here, and how can I move my way incrementally back to a good space? And maybe that's just simply contentment and satisfaction. It doesn't have to go to that spectrum of off the charts exhilaration or joy, but how can I get back to something that's neutral that allows me to then maneuver my life in a better way? And then I'm not in a knee-jerk reaction or fight or flight. And I have greater awareness to then take the next steps that are going to serve me and those around me.
Yeah.
Wow. Very profound. Oh, so your first book that you wrote it with your husband was about how to build a joyful and stress-free life. How do you relate to that book now that he has since passed? How does that look to you? Does it feel different? Does it carry a different message? How can people interpret it both ways?
Well, I think I'd like to change the subtitle because stress-free is not entirely possible. I think, again, that's that magical thinking.
Not going on today.
Life happens. I mean, I'm here in the mountains and we have deer that perk up when they sense something around them that's dangerous, and then they run or they pay attention and then they can relax. So the stress signals help us survive. That's something to be thankful for. So stress-free, can we recognize and start to develop tools to say, okay, stress is here. I'm aware of it. I can recalibrate sooner back to that higher frequency, back to that better version of myself, back to that clear space mentally and emotionally, so that I can make a next decision that's in alignment with where I want to go. So I think with Steve, I appreciate the book a lot more from a conceptual standpoint, especially after writing Miracle on the Mountainside, because that's his story, the story of his life in short snippets, really captivating life lessons. And the It Just Makes Sense is the how-to, forgiveness, discovering our belief system, how to have better communication with those around us so we have more harmonious interactions. It's the how-to of how to live our lives, I think.
Yeah. When people hear energy medicine, so some people are intrigued by it. They want to know more. Often are become kind of skeptical. How do you explain it to someone who's never experienced energy medicine?
I think of it like this. If you're going to go make breakfast in the morning and you want to have toast and eggs or an avocado toast here in California with some pickled onions and some cilantro and
Oh,
microgreens,
that sounds good.
then you have to plug in the toaster before you put the bread in, press the button down, and get something different that's going to transition and to make a beautiful breakfast. And I think we are like this vessel, like the toaster, but we got to plug into source to have the energy flowing through us. We have it flowing through us all the time. We just have often developed habits that block that energy source. So I think of energy medicine as the tools and techniques that we get to utilize to keep that energy flowing through us in the best ways so that we're healthier, we think more clearly, we're ready to tackle the things in front of us, and we can understand each other better and understand ourselves better.
Yeah.
For those who are watching or listening, can you give us an example or a couple of examples of how they could remove those blocks and clear that path so they can connect to source?
I think some of the easiest ones, we talked about awareness a few times already today. So paying attention of your emotional spectrum, that's a really good way to say, okay, well, there's a block. There's something that's coming up that's not serving me. There are simple things like music, turning on music and dancing the body, right? Letting it alchemize. Yeah, it's so healing. I think of yoga as so great too, but it's oftentimes very stiff or rigid in these postures, and you're breathing and you're holding a specific pose, which can be very beneficial, but there's like adding movement to the body, letting us shake it out. That's one of the best ways to start to notice how we can shift ourselves energetically very quickly.
Every Friday night I came home from work and had a dance party all by myself. I cranked the tunes and just danced around, and I got rid of the stress of the week.
Yes, I do it. I mean, I'll do it in the morning. I go, okay, there's something in me. I don't have a name for it sometimes. There's an angst. And I'll go dance, get outside in nature, look at the horizon, because the way our perception takes in the experience around us, you're automatically seeing something bigger than just where you are in the moment. And then the harmony of nature, the balance, that innate well-being can start to shift our perspective really quickly too.
Looking at the horizon is absolutely instantly calming because you're just looking out there and focusing on nothingness, and it brings you right back to zero and zen. For me, anyways.
Yes.
Well, yeah.
And Bethany, you want to say something?
No, go ahead.
I am smiling thinking about how I say these things. There are other tools, right? We can definitely dive into the thoughts we have, the beliefs we have, how to essentially start to, you're not pruning these neurological networks. You have to start creating new neural pathways, and that takes time. So many times in the moment, we have these triggers that come up, an upset, an angst. We want these quick tools. And it seems so silly to say, go outside, take some deep breaths, move your body, pet your animal, give them a hug. It's not rocket science. And yet it's the act of continually practicing them and coming back to being the beginner and saying, there's more to learn here. There's more to learn here. How can I grow and expand? Because you're changing, your beliefs are changing, the environment's changing. And it's our ability to adapt. And I love that word, recalibrate. We're just coming back to that center within us, that wise knowing, as often as possible. And again, it's simple things, but it's remembering to do them. over
Yeah.
and over again.
For sure. My last question. You often, speak about the body's intelligence. Do you believe symptoms are the body's way of communicating with us, or is it a way of maybe it's showing you that it's working against us? What would you say to that?
I love this idea, and I heard it recently where we've often heard the body keeps score. And
Mhm.
the body, the sensory information we gather goes right to our brain to help us navigate and predict our next moment, our next move, because we want to be efficient and we want to metabolize our body and be prepared to handle the upcoming situation. We don't know. And we're filtering that information that's coming in through our past experiences.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the senses we get to interpret, I like to think of it as stepping in through the lens of a scientist, because what is this information telling us?
Mhm.
Sometimes it's valuable because, yes, you heard something and it's time to run. We need to get to safety or do something that's going to help us stay safe. And sometimes you go, okay, I'm trying to put this information together and there really isn't a threat. So now I want some tools to help come back to balance. So I
Mm.
kind of went on a tangent here, back to body intelligence. The phrase is the brain keeps score, the body is the scorecard.
Oh, wow.
So using the brain is what's storing all the information. I mean, you could wear glasses that have blue on one lens and yellow on the other, and you wear those for 2 weeks, and then you have somebody take the glasses off and then look at a picture and they won't see the blue anymore or they won't see the yellow anymore because their brain has adjusted to make the external reality normal for them. And it's
That would
so
be interesting. That would be interesting wearing a pair of glasses with one blue lens, one. I mean, I'm
I'm
thinking
messed up
about
enough.
that.
I don't need
Yeah,
to do that.
yeah. I mean,
I have enough going
what
on.
would how would the body retain information through a different lens, such as, you know what I mean? That's fabulous.
yes, because we
Sharon,
want to
Sharon,
survive.
write that down. We need to buy us a pair of glasses.
Are you kidding? Do you know, we're messed up enough as it is, Bethany. We don't need any more help in that department.
Damn it, Sharon. I thought that was going to be a good tool for us.
The good news is your brain's going to adapt. So
Yeah.
whatever your messed up normal is, you're adapting. And
Yeah.
the body helps us understand, are those adaptations, I think, serving us or not serving us? And the more curious we are in paying attention to that, the more information we're aware of and navigating as we move throughout our day. The body intelligence, it's going to want to keep us safe. And what's so amazing is the body intelligence is that it's adaptive, it's flexible, this neuroplasticity that we can change the neural networks so that the information we're picking up from our environment
Yeah.
might not trigger a threat because that threat was maybe from our childhood, but that doesn't exist now in our present.
Right.
So we have this ability to, with our consciousness, with our mind, to shift that body intelligence to serve us.
Yes,
Turn that
girl.
shit into a shift.
That's right on cue. Right on cue, Sharon. Because right now we're going to get shift into our favorite segment called Shit or Shift. Sharon and I are going to pop out some questions to you, Kym, and you tell us if it's a shift, is it just expansive? Yes, I'm having it. Woo! Or if it's total shit, it's a program. No, we're not choosing that. So I'll go first. The first question, Kym. The greatest healer you'll ever meet already lives inside of you. Shit or shift?
Shift. Yes. I think there is wisdom within all of us, the body intelligence you're talking about. We have that direct access to source, that direct access to universal intelligence, to the infinite love that's all around us. And I think of us as liquid love looking for places to flow. So we have
Ah,
the opportunity to do that all the time. And that's a choice we get to tap into.
I love that liquid love.
Liquid. That's beautiful.
It is.
Kym, most people are using only a fraction of their ability to regulate their own state. Shit or shift?
Shift. Yes. I think a lot of it comes with distractions and this busyness. And this is so tangible. These bodies we're in, the life we're living, the desk I'm touching, the screen I'm looking at to see you. It feels so real. And at the
Yes.
same time, that could be so limiting because there is so much more out there. And I would like to say this, I'm not going to get the stat exactly right. I just heard that when you look out in the sky and you see the black between the stars, it's just an illusion, because if you were to really look at the light and how many stars are in the sky, it would be bright. But the darkness is that the stars and the speed of light haven't reached us yet. We're just early in seeing them. So that gave me this idea that there's so much out there. We're really only able to see a fraction of it.
Yes.
All right. Second question. All right. Grief is something you get over. Shit or shift?
Ooh, okay. Can I answer your question with a question?
Yes.
Okay. If you're going into a relationship, do you feel like you're whole and complete before going into that relationship, or are you looking to that other person to complete you?
Mm. Mm.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like this is controversial because everyone says, oh, there's always a hole in my heart. The grief will be with me forever. I believe the memories can be with us forever. The love can be with us forever. That continuity of connection and communication, if we want it, can be there.
Yep.
And yet at the same time, I believe I was whole going into these relationships with those around me, especially with Steve, who I would consider my soulmate. And we have the human sadness, the human emotional spectrum. But I believe that if I can come back to that love, that liquid love I know is always flowing through me to help my body function, to be with people around me in a meaningful way, to have purpose in my life, then I believe if you're going to say we get over grief, yes, because you're recognizing your wholeness and it was never completing you with that other relationship.
And what if the grief is what is keeping you disconnected from the communication and the messages from that liquid love, to be able to connect with that liquid love? What if that is what is keeping that from
Keeping
happening?
you
So,
locked and
yeah.
stopped.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
I mentioned that infinity sign earlier, from teacher to student and back again, learning, teaching, and going back and forth. I had someone early on after losing Steve, and I say lose very loosely, after he
Yeah.
stepped out of his body and he wasn't right next to me to have breakfast or have coffee. She gave me a different version of the infinity symbol. It was, because I think of it as, I like to think of it as a coin, but an infinity symbol is the same. You have grief on one side and this ability to have joy on the other, right? Well, like the love. And it's all sides of love, because when you miss somebody, it's because you got to experience so much love with them. When you have the joy, it's because you got the joy with them. And so many times in grief, I feel like that infinity symbol gets warped, and that sadness of missing the person is so big. And then you have this little tiny bit of joy. If you can let yourself have joy, because sometimes without that person in your life, it's really hard to say, I deserve that still.
Exactly.
So give yourself permission to let it be out of balance for a while. You're human. And actually, if you just look at the brain chemistry, you are so used to having this predicted experience of this person by your side that it takes time for new neural networks to come online. And I think of the brain doesn't like uncertainty. And your brain's like prediction error, prediction error, prediction error, and that can lead to negative emotion.
It doesn't
So
like to leave an open loop. It likes to close those loops.
let that grief side, the sadness, the emotion, the frustration, the uncertainty, it could be debilitating for a while. So those are important times to have people around you that love you, to have some routine, some structure, the things in your life. And time does help you
Yes.
come back to, you have the fondness of the memories and the connection and the heart, knowing that you've been changed by that person in your life. And now you have new ways to share your love. And maybe eventually that love side, that joy side will come back to either normal or become that bigger balloon.
My last question. Our beliefs can change our biology, shit or shift?
Shift. Yes, they definitely can change our biology. Yes. I actually really enjoy this study where they got two groups were given milkshakes, and one group was told that it's it's a very low calorie shake, and it's really going to be good for you. And then you have the other one that says this is indulgent and it's delicious and it's really decadent. And the
Yeah.
way their biology changed from the exact same caloric count of a milkshake was entirely different, because their perception of how their body would take in that substance affected how it was utilized in the body. And so go ahead.
I
Yes.
know I know a lady who smokes cigarettes, and she smokes every day, has smoked for years. Her lungs are crystal clear and pink. Her doctors can't believe it, but she has been in the spiritual realm her whole life, so she's
Mm,
like, I just tell myself that these don't affect me. I can enjoy them. They're wonderful, and they have no effect on my body whatsoever, and they don't. It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yes.
wow.
And you think of that distraction, that environmental cues that we could pick up on tuning to somebody else's radio dial. She's so tuned into her dial that the beliefs of other people about smoking don't affect her. And so we really start to learn how to tune into our own dial more regularly and learn our bodies, learn how we want to be in the world. And the more congruent we can be with that, the more coherent we can be, the healthier we can be. And I think it's really interesting to pay attention to, is this somebody else's dial? Because the same person
Yes.
could smoke and
Mhm.
and then have fear around it and not have that same experience. So our beliefs really do affect what happens internally, and we can never walk in anybody else's shoes.
Wow. Well, Kim, if you could have one message, one closing thought, um, something you would like to share with our audience, what would that be?
You have the opportunity to pivot. That's my word for shift. Any given moment, anytime you're making a choice in your day, pause, intend for that next segment. This conversation is going to end. What are you going to do after you leave? That's a new segment. What's your intention? Visualize it, and not just see it, but feel it. How do I want to feel in this next moment or segment of my life? Take a deep breath out, relax, let your body find a sense of peace. And then the T is trust. Trust that you've got this, you've got what it takes. And if you don't, you can trust that the teacher's going to show up, the
Mhm.
information is going to show up, the sign is going to be there for you. So we have this opportunity to pivot back to our inner guidance, into that next moment, that consciousness flowing through us, that love flowing through us so many times throughout the day. And when we feel stuck or frustrated or like we're powerless, no, you're
Mm,
not. You can pivot in the very next moment just by how you're thinking and
wow.
feeling, thinking and feeling.
Oh, that's awesome. That's an amazing way to put it, and a lot of wisdom for our viewers and listeners to take away. Thank you so much, Kim, for joining us today. It's been wonderful. It's been a pleasure. And I can speak for Bethany, I think, when I say that
Mhm.
we've really thoroughly enjoyed having you on and having you share all your wisdom with our listeners.
And where
Thank
can, if any of our
Oh, and where can
listeners
they
would
find you?
love, yeah, would love to work with you, what would be a great way for them to connect with you?
The best way to find me is swagtail.com or kymcoco.com. They both go to the same place, but that gets you to the resources, the books, lots of different blog posts on how to start tapping into that potential within us all the time.
And the
Oh,
book is on swagtail.com as well, Miracle on the Mountainside.
Yes.
Can't forget that.
ah, well, again, Kim, thank you so much. I know I can speak for Sharon. We're sending you so much love from our heart all the
Yes.
way to yours.
Thank you so much for having me. I
Thank
greatly
you.
appreciate you both. Cheers.
Wow. Wow, Sharon.
Great practical wisdom. So down to earth,
Mhm.
like she took woo concepts and just put them into plain speak and that everyone can relate to and
Yeah, and
implement in
just
their own lives.
for
Mhm.
sure, and just being around, just
Yes.
being in her field, she's electric, and so I am beyond grateful that we got to experience that with her today. So,
Me
Sharon,
too.
who do we have? I know this month has been kind of
Yeah,
wild,
it's been
for
strange. Yeah.
very, very interesting for us here at Holy Shiftballs. Do we have anybody for next week, or are we taking?
We are taking the next 2 Thursdays off. So we are taking off Thursday, August 20th and Thursday, August 27th. We will be back on September 3rd, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with our next guest. And yeah, so it's been strange the last couple of weeks. We've had last minute cancellations. And so, yeah, things have, the
Yes.
summer's been a little wonky, but
But
that's
it's
okay. We're going
also
to get back on track.
it's also really nice for both you and I where we've been able to take this time, and figure out where we're going, what we like, what we're adding, how we would like
Hmm.
to make Holy Shiftballs even better. So, everything in this on this realm right now is shifting, changing. Look at Ron.
Beautiful, Ron. That is awesome.
That is amazing.
God, you are good.
uh,
And
well,
that's
Sharon,
the other thing too. Oh, Jake made it. Thank you, Jake.
thank you,
Wow,
Jake.
that's fantastic.
That is.
Wow, Jake, that's amazing. Thank you so much. Very talented. I was wondering how Ron would do that while he was producing the show, and I thought, hey, multitasker, you just never know.
He's a
He's
highly
pretty
highly
amazing.
skilled man.
Yes. But thanks, Jake. That's excellent. But we'd also like to hear from you guys. Put in the comments, put in the chats on whatever platform you find us on. How would you like to see us make the show better? What would you like to see?
Yes.
Is there anyone in particular you'd like to see us interview? Is there any themes or any subjects that you would like to learn along with us? Because that's what we're learning at the same time you are, and that's
Yeah.
why we started this. We want to expand ourselves as well as anyone else who's interested in soul expansion and mind expansion and spiritual endeavors, and just how
Well,
can we make
I
our lives
think,
better.
yeah, human potential to see,
Human
you know,
potential.
yeah, so much is shifting right now. And so, what better way, we bring different people, different tools, different realities, different things, and have a conversation around it. So, yeah, put it in the chat what kind of conversations you would like to see us discuss. And yeah, Sharon, you know what? Sending you so much love. And
Oh, right back at you.
remember when life kicks you in the balls, girl, be sure to tune in to your Holy Shift Ball podcast.
Where we will help you turn that shit into a shift.
See you,
See you in
see
2
you,
weeks.
see you in September.